chilly because the sun has gone down. Oh, and well, that's the reason why. Actually, that's the entire reason.
I think that's the reason.
Yeah, as far as I'm concerned, it's the only reason why.
We're recording now?
We are live.
Oh, wow.
Welcome, ladies and gentlemen, to Info Landfill. Where we talk about anything weird. The only prerequisite is that it's weird, and we've broken that rule a couple of times already.
Yeah, if you've seen the last, or seen,
I
heard the last one.
I see sounds.
I see sound people. Well, if we're gonna get right into it, I don't know. I was just with my dad today, and I was talking about I think we talked about Antarctica last time, but
Oh yeah,
the moon, like bases on the moon,
Yeah.
like Mars and stuff. Like we talked about that already too. I can't remember. But,
we haven't. I don't think. I don't remember that.
but it's pretty interesting stuff, man. The stuff that NASA hides.
Oh yeah. Well, it's interesting how it's like they airbrush so many of their photos, and you can see where they've been airbrushed. And people are like, "Oh, well, you made the camera quality isn't that great, though." Well, so you're telling me we have the technology to be able to send a probe beyond our solar system, but we don't have decent Dude, my phone takes perfectly clear photos. You're telling me they don't have one of these or better on the probes? Get out of here.
Oh yeah, they can see into other galaxies and stuff.
Yeah, we took a picture of a freaking black hole the other week, for crying out loud. A black hole doesn't even give off visible light. In fact,
Do we even know they exist yet? They do, right?
I guess we do now. The thing is, the only way you can actually see a black hole is because it's not actually a hole technically. It's just the area of where gravity is so powerful that
Such a weird thought.
they say that light can't escape it. I don't know if that's even. I don't know if they really mean that, because the thing is, when you look at a black hole, obviously it sucks in everything around it, but also,
Have they actually taken a picture of one now?
yeah,
They have.
yeah.
Oh,
But
wow.
what you're seeing is more or less the light that's stretched around it, because do you know what gravitational lensing is?
No.
It's basically when gravity becomes so powerful that it actually distorts what you're seeing.
I've heard weird. You know what I think? Yeah, that's crazy too. But
Yeah.
what is in a black hole? Where does it take you? They just send a satellite into one of them, to a black hole if they can find one.
Yeah, right. I think what would happen, you would just get compressed into the tiniest space possible. It would crush you really fast.
Maybe you could survive.
I mean, yeah. What if they're actually portals though?
I've heard that.
Because I know that's what people say about wormholes.
Yeah. What's your opinion on wormholes?
I don't know, because we haven't, as far as I know, we haven't found one yet. But they are theoretical. I mean, a wormhole is supposed to be by default a rip in space time, isn't it?
Yeah, and I think that leads to that Mandela effect thing too, which is pretty strange.
What do you mean?
Have you heard of that?
Like where some people remember something
Yeah.
vividly and others don't?
Yeah,
Oh, yeah. Actually,
it's weird.
sometimes I wonder that. Like, what if we're all dimension hoppers, and we just don't know it, and we just kind of shift, like maybe when we're asleep or something, and we shift to another dimension that's really, really similar, but has the tiniest change that is almost unnoticeable.
I swear when we dream, we could go into a different dimension. You've actually been in a few of my dreams lately. It's weird. Not in a weird way, but just it's like everybody that I see in my dreams is a complete opposite of what they are in real life. It's
Really?
an alternate. Like I said, I had this one dream where you just had you were it was like an evil version of you, but everybody. It wasn't just you.
Yeah.
It was everybody.
I was
It wasn't evil, but it was just it wasn't you.
I was. It wasn't Kelly. It was Dread.
Yeah.
That's my evil persona.
Oh, okay.
I came up with him a little while ago. He's
Yeah,
kind of.
you look scary in it.
What
Everybody did though.
It's weird because it's interesting. My whole evil persona. The only thing that's really obvious about him is that he just wears a lot of black. His eyes are the same color as mine, because I'm not gonna give him red eyes. It's the most cliche bad guy thing.
Yeah.
He's very manipulative and very charming, which is why he's able to be effective at what he does. That's my evil persona. He's likable, but extremely, well, he's basically sociopathic. So that's why he's no good.
It just seems I don't know what your dreams are like, obviously, but
Acid trips.
yeah. Yeah, no, it's weird. Like everybody, it's just like I'm in. Everything's the same but different. You know what I mean? Like I can be. Like I know that I'm in a place I've been before, but everything's different.
Yeah.
You get that?
I get, well, yeah. And it's, I do get what you mean. My dreams
No, I'm
are,
just wondering if you get that too. Like,
well, like, yeah, where you'll see something that looks totally whack.
but it makes complete sense at the time.
Yeah. Or you will see a place that you've always known, like your house or something,
I'm
or
always in
your
my
school.
old house too.
But when you wake up, you'll think back to the way you saw it, and you may not be able to put your finger on it, but you know that something was off about it.
Yeah.
And you can't even say what.
Yeah.
It's interesting. This is a common example I always give for my dreams, because my dreams are total randomness, and I always give this example because it sounds really funny and it makes sense. So this is how my one of my dreams will usually go. Of course, you never really know where a dream starts. You just suddenly realize you're there.
Yeah. It's like you remember bits and pieces, not the whole thing.
But a dream of mine will go something like this. I'll be flying through the sky. I'm not in a plane. I don't have a jetpack. I'm just kind of flying.
Right.
And I'll look over and, there's John Travolta over there.
Yeah.
He's flying through the sky with me, and he's wearing a pink suit with sky blue pants. And then I will proceed to laugh at the joke of him flying through the sky with sky blue pants. And then I'll look over and see like a prawn or something, and then I'll probably wake up. Like this.
Man, it's bizarre.
That's what all my dreams are like. They don't make a shred of sense. Actually, well, the dream I had last night didn't make much sense, but there are a few parts that I remember.
Yeah.
It was so weird. I know there was a point in the dream last night where I was transported back in time, because it was the Soviet. God, my phone vibrated. I'm so sorry about that.
I wonder if that recorded on there.
Oh, it would have.
Oh, weird.
But I know there was part of my dream last night where somehow I was back in time, and I was I don't know if I was like an officer, but I was in the Soviet Union, and there was like some kind of
that would
weird.
make sense because you love Russia.
I love.
You must have been Russian in a past life or something.
I just love 20th century history. I find it fascinating because it shapes so much of our current world.
Oh,
But
yeah.
I remember it was some kind of like parade or some kind of big gathering. I don't even remember what happened. I just remember I was there, and I was totally fitting in. Like nobody was looking at me like I was out of place. I was there, and I don't remember if anyone was speaking Russian. If I remember correctly, they were all speaking English, I think. But that's just because it was a dream.
Sense, yeah.
But I find that a lot of my dreams have multiple parts and sections and acts, I want to say.
They do, eh?
But my dreams' acts very, very rarely ever coincide with each other. They almost never link up. In fact,
That's so weird.
the second part of my dream last night was a lot more fun. It was it was every teenage boy's dream.
Oh yeah.
This is gonna sound weird.
Hot chick.
It was a porn star actually.
Oh, perfect.
The first one. It was actually the first one I ever really got into, and it was weird.
It's not a bad dream.
It was
at all.
basically we weren't even sleeping together, but she was like, how did she say it? Because I can't remember how it went, but basically somehow in my dream we had known each other for some time, and she was basically like saying like, look, I can't keep up this charade anymore. I actually really like you a lot, that sort of thing, like in a like romantic kind of way. And in the dream, I was like, this is awesome. She's really cute. She's really good looking, and she's I don't know, she's got this adorable voice, and it was awesome. And then I woke up.
Yeah.
I was like, shit.
I know it's the worst when you're having a good dream.
But it was so weird because
It's like, what could it mean?
But I remember for some reason, again, dreams don't really make a whole lot of sense. I remember that she was trying to make a decision because she was kind of caught between two guys by the sounds of it, and I was one of them.
Oh.
And she's saying, and it was
Love
weird
triangle.
the way she described it. She said, "Look, I really like you, but we have to figure this out now. Either we're gonna be a thing, or I'm gonna go and." Basically, from what I remember, she said, I'm going to go and marry, like, this other guy. I don't even remember. So I'm thinking, so
Really?
you're already on the verge of being married with someone, and you still have feelings for me. It was so weird. Again, it's a dream. Made no sense. But as far as my dreams go, that's about the most sense any of my recent dreams have ever made, because there was somewhat of a coherent narrative there.
It is strange.
But it was I don't know.
I've had dreams like that too, though.
Overall, it was really dumb. It didn't make any sense. like when I think of all the other irrelevant details, it was just so dumb.
I know, right?
It was just the Soviet Union and the porn star part that made sense. That was it.
Oh, I know. Like,
It was so weird.
do you ever have lucid dreams?
I've had 2.
I've had them all my life. I usually have one like once or twice a month.
Oh,
I just had one recently where I was lucid dreaming, and it's actually a couple days ago. And I knew I was in a dream, so I just started exploring everything. But then I started getting freaked out. I was like, okay, I want to wake up now.
yeah.
And I like didn't know what to do. I was like, I don't want to be. I felt like I was gonna be trapped in my dream forever because
Oh,
I knew I was in
no.
it, man. It was like the weirdest thing. Like, what I like to do when I'm lucid dreaming is I'll just like pick up objects and like things to see like a beer can, like
Yeah.
because you never notice like you're just dreaming, but when you actually know you're dreaming, you pick it up and you read it, and it's all just like gibberish.
Yeah, I've heard about that.
But it's the weirdest thing.
I've heard one way to tell if you're in a dream is to look at your hands, because usually your hands will have more than 4 fingers and 2 thumbs.
Yeah, I've never actually.
Or 8 fingers and 2 thumbs.
Yeah, no.
I don't know, maybe each hand will have 4 fingers and 2 thumbs. That'd be kind of weird.
Yeah, no, it is weird. Like, it's the weirdest thing when you know you're dreaming. But I've been able to do it my whole life.
I've only done it twice, and it was only after I was trying to do it.
Yeah.
And that was after extensive research on techniques of how to do it. And
Oh, really? Yeah.
the first lucid dream I ever had was kind of interesting. I remember I was sitting in my room, and I was listening to a song on my stereo just off a CD, and I remember I looked over at the stereo, and the timestamp for the song, it said it was a minute and 4 minutes and 44 seconds.
So you could read the numbers then.
Yeah,
That's
but
interesting.
the song was going, but it was stuck at 4 minutes 44 seconds.
The whole time?
Yeah, and I was thinking that doesn't make any sense because first of all,
numerology, man.
the song is still going, so why is the number stuck there? And I remember the track. It was
But you knew you were dreaming.
Well, this is where I start to suspect it because it was a Mudvayne track off of their first album. I think it was Death Blooms, actually.
And you could hear it clear as day. Like,
oh yeah,
isn't that crazy?
But the thing is, I don't remember if Death Blooms goes as far as 4 minutes and 44 seconds, but I knew that was my first indication. First of all, the timestamp was stuck there, but also, I remember it was specifically a track that ended before the 4 minute mark, so that didn't even make sense. So I thought,
weird.
And then that's when I started to suspect. I went up and I'm like, I looked at the stereo, and then I suddenly realized, wait, I remember reading that when you're in dreams, sometimes like light switches and electronic objects just won't respond. Does that apply to stereos? And then I started thinking,
I've heard that.
And then I started thinking, oh, am I dreaming? And then I realized, wait, I remember reading another technique is to look down at your hands because they always look all weird. And this is where it starts to get crazy because I look down at my hands, and you know that cheesy Windows Movie Maker swirling effect?
Right.
I looked down, that's what my hands looked like.
Really?
It looked like a weird whirlpool of flesh and air.
So what were your thoughts when you knew you were dreaming? Did it freak you out, or you just go with it?
I a bit of both. I'm like, oh, I'm doing it. I'm lucid dreaming, but what do I do? And then I look down at my hands, and they are all swirly. And that's when I start to wake up because suddenly...
You start to wake up.
Because suddenly I froze in place. I became paralyzed while standing up. And I think it was because I was becoming aware of my own sleep paralysis-stricken body in real life. So in the dream, I started to feel my real body in real life. So I became paralyzed in the dream as well. I got stuck. I was like, what the fuck? What the hell is happening? So I look up, and then I look at my room because I'm in the corner where the stereo is. So I'm looking at my whole room, and the floor starts to crumble and break apart like rock, and the little bits and pieces of it just start floating upwards towards the ceiling. And I was I'm like, what the hell is happening? I'm basically watching my room deconstruct itself as though it was made of stone, the way it's crumbling, and then floating up into the air upwards.
And this is when you started to begin to wake up.
Yeah, because then
Oh,
I'm watching this, and I'm like, oh, what is happening? And then the most startling part is that I'm watching my room basically crumble and float upwards, and then suddenly I hear what sounds like hundreds of people screaming in my ears, just like that, immediately screams just out of nowhere.
Really?
Not coherent
I've never
words.
heard that.
Like, not words, they're just screaming for no reason. Like, it sounded like a whole choir of people beside my ears screaming into my eardrums. And that's when I woke up, and the weirdest part is, I woke up, and as I was regaining consciousness, the screams in my ears slowly faded and distorted into the sound of the fan right by my head.
Oh.
So that was actually what I was hearing, but it must have been amplified and distorted somehow.
Oh.
Because it was in the middle of the summer, so I always had the fan on.
I'm draining the sea monster.
Oh, yeah?
Keep going, man.
Yeah.
That's crazy. But I think I actually have had similar things like that.
Yeah, but what happened for me, the first time I had ever had a lucid dream, I became not the second, but within a minute of becoming aware that I was in a dream, my body reacted, or my mind.
Did you jolt?
I jolted awake from what I remember. My mind reacted to me becoming aware so violently that I scared myself awake. It was so weird.
Yeah, that sounds pretty normal for a lucid dream, I guess.
The second lucid dream I had was not nearly as interesting. I remember I was in a pool. I was in a big public swimming pool, and I remember I was walking around the edge of the pool looking for a good place to jump in, and it's a little bit hard to describe, but I remember I found a good spot where I was going to jump in, and then suddenly I noticed the part of the floor I had walked on to get to this corner of the room was suddenly no longer there. I was in a strange little corner in the room at the far end of the pool that theoretically you would have only been able to have swam to and then climbed up onto. But I had walked there, and then suddenly I looked back to the walkway I had walked on, and it's suddenly just gone. So,
and so you realize you were in a dream.
That's where I started to suspect it. I'm like, wait, I know I walked here, but now I'm looking at the infrastructure of this whole pool, and I could have only really swam here, but I know I walked.
It's so bizarre.
And then I thought, screw it, I'll just jump in, because I was at a pool. I'm like, I was going to jump in anyway, screw it. I jump in, and then I jump in, and I start to do, like, the what's it called?
Breaststroke?
I think so, yeah.
Swimming?
I'm just swimming, and then I freeze in the middle of swimming, because, I'm starting to wake up, so I'm becoming aware of my paralyzed body again. But in my dream, it happened again, so I freeze, and then for some reason, my body starts rotating in the water, like almost like I'm a weird character glitching out in a video game.
I mean, technically, you are glitching.
Basically, like, and it didn't make any sense the way I was just kind of rolling over, like I was staying in place in the water, but my body was spinning around as though I was just in midair, and there was nothing restricting me. It was so weird, because that's when I woke up.
And were you trying to lucid dream again?
No, it just happened.
Yeah.
And I remember as my body froze in the swimming position, this really weird swimming position, and then just start to randomly spin slowly like in a drill formation almost.
You're spiraling into awaken.
But as that happened, suddenly my viewpoint I suddenly started seeing myself in the third person, and that's when I woke up.
And actually, I noticed that in a lot of my dreams. I don't know how it is for you.
Yeah.
I mean, you have seen yourself in third. Yeah, I usually see myself in third person a lot of the times in my dreams.
Usually, I'm always...
It's like half and half. I don't know. It's weird.
I rarely see myself from the third person. Usually, it's always from my perspective.
Yeah. I find for me, it'll change, like randomly.
That's weird.
Yeah.
I don't notice... I think if it... And it's hard to discuss dreams to a certain degree because
some people don't dream.
Well, they say we all do, but you usually forget them.
Well, yeah. I mean, yeah, everybody's obviously dreaming, but like I find it so weird. And people are like, "Oh, I don't remember any of my dreams. I never remember." I'm like,
I forget so many of mine.
Well, me too, but it's like I usually dream every night and usually remember most of it or bits and pieces. But some people don't remember anything.
I usually remember right as I wake up. Which is
that too, yeah.
That's typical.
And it's weird how you can forget it so quick.
It was, yeah. And usually the really crazy ones, or the really interesting ones I'll remember, like the one I had last night. The only reason I remember is because, well, how often do you have the first porn star you ever got into confess their love for you? Basically.
Yeah, that's not a bad one to remember.
But again, the circumstances were just weird, and then that weird whole Soviet Union debacle for no reason like that. I wasn't even questioning why I was there. I'm just like, oh, here I am. Oh, there's like everyone's
the weirdest thing.
Everyone's just kind of hanging out. Okay, and I just wasn't questioning it.
I know, and it's weird how you're...
Soviet Union has been around since '91. Like, I wasn't even alive then.
But I think every dream means something.
Yeah.
Maybe I sound hokey pokey saying that, but...
Well, a lot of people think that too, though.
Yeah. And going back to the lucid dreaming thing, I've been able to do it my whole life, not on command, but it's just something that happens to me a lot. I used to be
That's-
able to do it on command, kind of.
That's cool.
Yeah, but I thought that was normal, and I've been able to do it since I can remember.
Maybe it is, and I just suck at it.
No, I don't know. I think just I don't know. Like it's not. It is cool, but it's lately it's like the last one I had was kind of frightening because at first I'm like I always never get too scared. I'm like, okay, well I'm in a dream, and I'm fully aware I'm in a dream, which
Yeah.
is super weird, and it's just like
Control stuff.
you can't. I used to be able to control things a lot better. Now I obviously the first thing I'm gonna do is try and make a hot chick appear. And,
Yeah.
but I couldn't do it. Like I would make a hot chick appear, and then she would just disintegrate.
Oh.
So it would like, and then I'd try again and again, and it would just never work. But I wasn't waking up.
That's weird.
So and then even flying, sometimes I can fly, like because I'm like, okay,
that'd be
picture
cool.
your yeah. So and then so I'll be like, okay, fly, but I can't.
What
Like
the
it just won't work. So sometimes I can, sometimes I can't.
And people that interpret dreams might look at that and say that you subconsciously, it's your subconscious trying to deal with the fact, or basically trying to come to terms with the fact that maybe you feel like you're losing control of things in your life.
Possibly.
Because I know
wouldn't be too far off from the truth.
I know the first time I had somebody try to interpret one of my dreams, just offhandedly after I told them about it.
Mm-hmm.
This one dream that I had, this is one of the ones I always remember. It was this dream I had. It was in my old house. I had this jetpack. I don't remember if I don't remember
Sounds
if I,
cool already.
yeah, I don't remember if I had built it, but it was powered by compressed air, which was already kind of odd. But it was fully functional, kind of like a jetpack from like, I don't know, Halo Reach or
Right.
Star Wars. What was it? Shadows of the Empire, that N64 game.
Oh yeah, that was awesome.
It was a great game.
Great game.
And the jetpack was really nice. It flew really well, and it was weird though. I would take off and I would be able to stick the landing perfectly every time. But every time someone in my dream was watching me do it,
Mhm.
I would trip and fall and land on my face every single time. And it was the second they would turn their gaze, they would avert their gaze from me. Suddenly, I could stick the landing perfectly. And then the person, I can't remember who it was, but they were saying, they basically said, "Do you think that's like you like being afraid of screwing up in front of people? Like maybe that's your mind interpreting your fear of
definitely.
social like embarrassment, basically."
Definitely could be.
Yeah, and I thought that kind of made sense. But then the part that doesn't make sense is that one of the times before I woke up, from what I remember, I was jetpacking from the front. I had a group of people in the front yard. I was like, "Yeah, guys, watch this." I'd run around to the back, and I would jetpack over the house to the front yard, and then I fell, of course, flat on my face, got a mouthful of dirt. And I'm like, "Oh God, son of a bitch!"
Yeah.
I look over,
See, that's similar
I
to
look-
me then. But I can't do it.
but then I look over. This is the weird part. I look over in my front yard, and there's a giant, like, it's like a giant canoe-sized iguana,
Oh, what?
and it's just rainbow-colored.
That'd be terrifying.
It's a giant rainbow-colored iguana basking in the sunlight in my front yard. It was just chilling there.
Look, I like
It
your
was just-
I like your dreams already.
It was just kind of sitting there for no reason, you know?
And I know you mean by an acid trip now.
Well, that's what I mean. Like, my dreams make no sense. And then I remember, even in the dream, that was one of the only times where in a dream, I was... Because normally you just kind of go with everything, like, oh, okay, well, this is happening. That makes sense.
Which is so weird.
That's one of the only dreams I can think of where I turned around and saw the rainbow-colored iguana that was giant, like I said, canoe-sized. And in the dream, I was like, what the fuck is happening here? It makes no sense. They neither get that big, nor do they get that color. Neither do we have the climate in this country to support such animals. What is happening?
But
And
it didn't like freak you out though.
I was like almost angry because I was so confused. And then I woke up. I was like, what is this? What?
Okay, and I have a question for you if we're gonna stay on the topic of dreams.
Oh yeah. Yeah.
Can you this personally? I can feel pain.
Yep.
I can taste things.
Mm-hmm.
I can drink things.
Yep.
And it all feels real.
Oh yeah. That's why you
Even-
believe it.
Yeah, and there's been times too where I'm like taking. It sounds stupid. I'm taking a piss in my dream.
Yeah.
And it feels like I am.
Yeah.
Like, I'm not wetting my bed though or anything. I wait.
Oh, you wake up and you're dry.
And it's just like how because I've heard of people doing that and pissing their bed, but I've never done that. But
Me neither. Not since I was like 5
yeah, even as a kid,
or 6 or something. I don't know.
yeah,
Even as a
definitely.
kid.
I think every kid pisses their bed a couple of times.
Oh yeah.
But Yeah, no, it's just weird. Like, but you know something's not right. You're like,
Yeah, well, I've
but I feel pain like
oh,
just like I would in real life,
it is extremely accurate to real life. In
which
fact,
is weird.
there's been a lot of instances in dreams where I've fallen off really high places and I did not wake up before I hit the ground. And
Really?
it hurts like crazy. And I half the
Really?
time, most of the time, I won't even wake up. Like I'll fall off like a roof or something in my dream, and
Oh,
I'm
okay.
like on the ground, like oh
And
fuck, God,
you can feel that, eh?
oh it's so painful.
That's
And I
interesting.
haven't fallen off very many high places in my life, so I'm guessing it's my brain simply simulating what it thinks it would feel like, and my brain thinks it's extremely agonizing. So that's what I'm feeling in my dream.
Yeah,
It
no.
sucks. Thankfully, it very rarely happens that I do fall off high places. Because
Actually,
I can only remember one or two instances of it, but it sucked both times.
it's funny you bring that up too because I have an immense fear of heights, and
Oh
in
yeah,
my dreams I have so many dreams, at least 2 or 3 a week, where I'm like at the edge of a building or a cliff or something, and I'm stranded there, like, and like I don't know, like the last one I had, I was like climbed this mountain for some reason, I don't know why,
yeah.
and all of a sudden I was stranded, like there was no safe way down, and I was
Oh
terrified. I was
no.
like, what am I gonna do? I wait here till a helicopter picks me up? Like no one's gonna know I'm here.
Oh, it's terrifying.
And then I think it wasn't a lucid dream, but I think I eventually kind of realized I was dreaming, and like I think I just jumped off just to end it because I was like, I don't know, like,
Like if
but
you
I couldn't
die,
tell if I was dreaming or not. But I was kind of like, well, I might be, you know.
like if you die in a dream, I'm assuming you would just kind of wake up.
Well, that's what happens to me, especially if I fall a long way. I'll wake up usually. I can't remember actually any dream where I've fallen and actually landed. That's
It,
interesting you said that. I've never heard that.
oh, it like I said, it rarely happens to me, but I know it has because I have a vivid memory. I don't even remember
So
when.
how would you describe the pain when you fell?
A sharp,
Like bones breaking or
it, the thing is, I've never actually broken a bone in a dream from what I remember, but
yeah.
the pain is as though your bones have shattered and it shoots up your legs like fire. It
Really?
sucks. It's so painful.
And I was always told, I don't know, maybe I'm wrong, but were you told, like, didn't you ever told that you can't feel pain or taste food or anything in dreams?
I don't think I've ever been told that.
I thought that was like the thing that people said, and I was like, that's bullshit.
Well, I guess
Because
my mind is a rule breaker. I don't know.
no, it must be. I must be wrong because like,
Well, the
how
thing
can
is,
you not? Your brain is simulating.
everyone's different though. Because I used to think that my kinds of dreams were normal until I started telling people about them, and they're like, "Dude, are you like?"
Whose dreams are normal though? I've never met anybody who has normal dreams.
But the thing is, a lot of people I know, when they talk about their dreams, uh, they have like actual storylines to them. Excuse me.
Sometimes they do.
Like I know they, I envy Colton's dreams. He has the coolest dreams. He'll have like actual plot driven dreams. Like they don't always make the most sense from what he said, but like usually he'll have like full on like Walking Dead, like full on episodic dreams, and he's
Oh
like
yeah.
in them. He's a character in the show.
Oh
And
yeah.
I'm like, oh,
I've
that's
had
so
dreams.
cool.
I've had dreams like that for
But
sure.
no, I get the air compressed jetpack and the giant rainbow iguanas and the Soviet Union for some reason.
I think that sounds just as cool, to be honest.
That's the thing.
You're kind of more on my level with those kind of dreams too. I definitely
Yeah.
have just super random dreams that make absolutely zero sense.
But most of the people that I talk to about my dreams,
Yeah.
always look at me like I have just stumbled out of an asylum.
Really?
Well, because I can't count how many times I've heard this. What are you taking before bed, and why? And can I have some?
You're like the
it's
most clean cut guy I know. Like,
and that's what's funny. I've technically the only, if you want to argue drugs,
what, coffee?
yeah, technically caffeine is a drug. I guess.
You don't drink coffee before bed though, do you?
No, I would never. I wouldn't sleep.
It's a bad idea.
But caffeine is a psychoactive drug, so I guess technically I've
it
done.
is. Caffeine is a very psychoactive drug. Yeah.
Oh yeah, I mean,
It's so common. It's so socially accepted.
Oh yeah, but that's the thing. People, I always thought that complete acid trips that were completely meaningless, at least on the surface level. I always thought that was normal until I started telling more and more people about them, and like 90% of people are like, "What are you taking?" I'm like, I'm not taking anything. I've never
Really?
done any psychedelics. I've never done any hard drugs. The only hard stuff I've done is liquor. That doesn't count.
No, everybody drinks.
Yeah.
For the most part.
And I don't even drink hard liquor that much. It's once in a while.
Yeah.
It's rare. Like at my friend's birthday party,
It probably affect your dreams a bit.
yeah. Well,
I find if I get way too drunk, sorry to interrupt, but I find if I get way too drunk, I don't even remember my dreams really because I'm just so hammered.
Well, actually, my friend's my really good buddy of mine, Connor. He had his 23rd birthday the other night. It was really fun.
Oh, yeah.
I had a few too many, admittedly. I shouldn't have had that much, but I was having a lot of
whatever.
fun. I was talking to people. It was a good time.
Yeah.
But that night when I went to bed, or I think I woke up. It was about 3 or 4 in the morning. After I had this nightmare, it was so. Ugh.
Oh, I hate nightmares. Now we're gonna talk about nightmares. Oh yeah, those are bad.
Well, for me, it was weird.
I hate nightmares.
I don't know if it was brought on by the alcohol.
Ugh.
But the thing is, I also know that they say if you're too cold in your sleep or if you're too warm, that'll bring on nightmares. Like
Really, I've never heard that.
If you're sleeping in a temperature that you personally find uncomfortable, that will screw with what your dreams are like. But
that makes sense.
yeah, well, 'cause you're just generally just discomfort, and your mind is all upset and shows you scary stuff for some reason.
Oh, I know. I've had some terrible nightmares before.
This one nightmare was so weird. I wasn't me. I was like basically inhabiting the body of some dude.
Isn't that weird when you're somebody else?
That's one of the only dreams I can think of where I was somebody else. It was really weird.
I've had a lot of dreams from somebody else.
I was some guy. I don't remember. From what I remember, he kind of looked a little bit like Brian Regan. So right off the bat, we're already to a pretty good start. If I could look like Brian Regan, that'd be pretty great. I'd totally look like Brian Regan, but that's not the point. Anyway, I was this guy, and he had a wife, and we were basically living in this really nice apartment. It was a really fancy-looking apartment, but this was a fucking haunted apartment. Good God, there was so much poltergeist activity.
Those are weird dreams.
But it was weird because it didn't start out that way. We were just like happily living in this apartment.
Yeah.
So nice. It was so like everything felt great. It was super dark outside. It was all at night. So it had a kind of a weird sinister tone from the beginning.
It started out nice.
I didn't know why. But it felt nice. And then objects started flying across the room, shit started moving on its own, and the way this guy's
Your
wife,
adrenaline just starts going too, right?
well, yeah, because the thing is,
Yeah,
paranormal
not
stuff freaks me out because I've
I know.
only had like 2 or 3 paranormal experiences, and they're terrifying, utterly terrifying. At least
You had 2 or 3?
the demonic ones.
Yeah, I remember you told me one.
Yeah.
What was the other one?
I'll tell you after. But the main thing, because I wasn't done with this story.
Oh, sorry, yeah.
Oh, it's all good. But the one, I think the most disturbing part were the shrill, piercing shrieks of the guy's wife every time something would move. It was the most disturbing, most spine-chilling, most blood-curdling shriek I've ever heard in my life. And every single time an object would move, oh God, it was so... That was weirdly the most disturbing part. It wasn't the fact that demonic entities were screwing with objects in our house. It was the fact that,
the scream.
something about her screams rattled me to my core. And there's
pure terror.
Yeah, there wasn't even anything inhuman about them. Like if I were to recreate them or
It's just
describe
a fact,
them, yeah, there was something about her screams that, oh God, even when I think about it now, I'm starting to get freaked out. It was weird.
Don't bring any. I hope we're not bringing any post traumatic.
No. It was just because it was only a couple nights ago that I dreamt this.
Jesus.
So it's still fresh on my mind, and
I hate nightmares.
it was creepy though because you could definitely in the dream it was obvious that the demonic force was definitely following us throughout the apartment because we'd be in the kitchen, shit would be moving, and she'd be freaking the fuck out. And it was weird though. Weird part of the dream. I could solve the problem of things moving by punching the thing that was moving, and it would stop moving.
That's weird.
Like, if a drawer was moving, I'd punch it, and it would stop moving. So that was kind of weird. I don't know what that had to do with anything, but anyway. But we've like,
just randomness.
we just like scrambled to the bedroom because there's poltergeist activity. It's terrifying, and then suddenly stuff in the bedroom starts moving. Oh,
You can't escape it.
oh God! I think that was part of it. The idea that I couldn't escape a force that was intangible, but also very clearly powerful
And unseen.
Yeah, and then the wife's. Oh God!
It wasn't even the actual phenomena; it was the screaming.
I don't
the
know
sheer terror.
what a was about her screams. They were the most terrifying sounds I'd heard in a long time.
No, I actually totally understand that.
It was so weird. I think it's because it was the loudest and most startling thing. I don't know. It was weird, but
Yeah, two of these empties in.
yeah.
Do you mind if I grab us a couple more?
Sure thing. Just don't drink me out of the house.
Oh no. Just one more.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, I'll keep it going. Talking about some more
Get
dreams.
info landfilled.
Yeah, right. Oh man, honestly, my dreams are the definition of info landfill. My mind at night is my mind is made of fuzz and looks like a Jackson Pollock painting. What more can I say? I don't know. I've always had weird ideas. I mean, like when I'm awake, I have some odd ideas, but when I'm asleep, that's where the weirdest ones come in. In fact, the dream I had last night with the Soviet Union and Sophie D, that was totally different. That was actually, I don't know. Anyway, my co-host is back.
Yeah.
Oh yeah, I was gonna say, I feel like I'm nominating you as co-host because,
Really?
yeah, because you're the only one I really do this with.
Oh, I love
Actually,
it.
like Colton's my co-host on R&R. You're my co-host on Info Landfill. Yeah, fist
Yeah.
bump. So
No,
yeah, we
Kelly's the best.
Oh.
He puts up with my crap.
Well, you've been to hell and back. So we gotta help each other. That's what Christ would want.
Yeah.
But yeah, back to the nightmares thing. I don't-
Yes.
I very rarely get them, thankfully.
Me neither, actually. Not as much. Not as much as you'd think.
Yeah. Yeah. Usually, I can't remember any other nightmares that I've had, though, because I usually do forget most of my dreams, even some of the crazy ones, because
Oh, yeah.
I know that I've forgotten some weird, crazy ones, but I don't know. I can't really think of very many other nightmares I've had off the top of my head, and maybe that's a good thing.
Yeah, I try to forget them. But there's definitely ones that'll always stick out,
Yeah.
which is weird. But, I mean, I have good dreams that stick out, too. But
I was gonna say, do you want to share any of them? It might be kind of
good dreams?
therapeutic, or maybe
Or
the bad,
nightmares.
maybe the bad ones.
Ooh,
Because
okay.
something about me explaining
Nightmares.
the nightmare I had a couple nights ago felt really good. Like I was getting it off my chest for some reason.
Well, the nightmare you just described, I've had very similar ones. I'll have dreams where I'm seeing like UFOs, which I have
Oh.
seen in real life. But,
Yeah, you
but
told me
also-
that.
But when I'm in dreams, it's just way more terrifying. I just keep it.
Everything's hyper glorified.
Yeah, but the poltergeist kind of dream definitely had that basically the same
Oh.
dream. There's one dream that really sticks out, which is, you might laugh at it, but I remember this one like years and years ago. I was probably still a teenager because I was living with my dad still. Yeah, so I had this dream where I saw this giant, monstrous, probably the size of a lawn chair, like spider monster thing.
Oh no,
Like
thanks.
some sort of mutant, gross, disgusting creature on my wall in my room.
Oh no,
And
that's
then-
even worse.
And then all of a sudden, like my dad came into the room and he just screamed, like he just was so terrified he dropped dead.
What the?
And then
What
and then
the
my
hell?
stepmom came in and she dropped dead. Like they all just saw it and they all screamed and dropped dead.
What the hell?
And then I think I woke up, but that one just always stood out to me. I'm like,
That is some weird Lovecraftian shit.
is that
What?
Lovecraft?
Yeah, like that's
Dude.
like cosmic horror there.
Yeah, because it was like I was obviously terrified too,
Yeah,
and
that's terrifying.
and then all of a sudden, like I think one by one, all of my family members started coming into the room, and they all
What the-
just started screaming because it's like, and they just
What the?
and they would drop dead.
What the? Okay, that's both terrifying and extremely depressing.
I know.
I'm so sorry.
Yeah, it was a weird one.
Wow, that is.
Yeah,
That sounds like an SCP, actually, like something where a massive, sort of an oversized arachnid, where if you look at it, you die, basically.
Oh yeah, you were telling me about that stuff.
Yeah, the SCP Foundation.
Yeah, and it's not like I wasn't scared either. Like I was scared, but it was just.
But
the
you were-
more terrifying part was seeing how terrified they were.
Yeah.
And then dropping dead because they're that scared.
There's something about seeing terror on another person's face.
And like that's why, because you reminded me of like how the person in your dream was screaming.
The wife,
scared you.
yeah.
These
Oh,
these screams were just sheer terror.
They
Right?
they shook you to your core.
I wasn't even well. I was scared of the monster on the wall, but
You were
it was
more
almost
scared.
scared of them freaking
Yeah,
out.
like
Like it was that bad.
you're more afraid of the piercing howls of terrified and dying humans. There's
Yeah,
something so disturbing about that.
it's not a good feeling.
Ugh.
I'm sure I've had worse nightmares. Like I said, I do try to forget them, but
Yeah, I forget most of my dreams, but
some
for
of
better for worse.
yeah, and some of the scariest dreams I've had are um they're not terrifying with like mom, but they're just like weird craps happening, like you were saying, like poltergeist stuff or
Yeah. That was a rare one though. I don't usually get a lot of paranormal activity in my dreams. That's well, from what I remember at least.
that I've never uh for the most part I've never really had too many paranormal experiences, but
Hmm.
there's a couple that stick out. I've probably told you them already. Like got thrown on my bed one time.
Oh,
I think I might have been dreaming, but it felt pretty goddamn real to me.
wow, that'd be creepy. The thing is, I've never been physically manipulated by an unseen force, but I have certainly felt the presence of something very evil before, and it was a feeling I'll never forget.
Yeah. Well, I was going through both. I still get sleep paralysis, but when I get it now, I don't fight it anymore. I just let it pass. But
Yeah,
for a while, I was getting as a teenager, I was getting it a lot, and
it's horrific.
that's the bed throwing thing happened one time because
Oh,
I was in sleep paralysis, so I in my mind I was 100% sure I was awake, but I couldn't move, and I was wrapped up in my blankets,
yeah.
like basically in like a ball, like this whatever this was picked me up, wrapped me up in my blankets, and threw me against my door.
What the hell?
Yeah, and I can remember hearing the feeling, I really hitting the ground, but I tried screaming but I was 2 floors down. I was in the basement. My dad was 2 floors up. And it was a
Oh,
pretty big house, so
yeah.
I remember I'm like, they would have. I wonder if they heard me hit the door, like, but they obviously they wouldn't have. And I remember I was so terrified. I went to scream and nothing came out, and I was so horrified of what was happening. I passed out, and I
Oh,
woke up in my
man.
bed.
Yeah.
So I
Oh.
was like, that must have been a dream, but
It always feels very real, though,
it,
doesn't it?
to this day I don't. I think it really did happen, but I could be wrong. But I don't know.
The reason I said I had 2 or 3 paranormal experiences is because I'm rounding it down. Because there was that one experience I told you about in Paris.
Yeah, that was freaky.
Basically, the one in Paris. I'm gonna explain this real quick.
Yeah, that was
A couple of years ago, I was traveling through Europe with my mom, my stepdad, and my mom's very good friend, and we were in this town outside of Paris. I believe it was called Meau, I think it was spelled.
Sounds French.
Yeah, it was very French. It was in France.
Yeah.
And we were looking for a place to stay for the night because we were going to Paris the next day. And we rolled into this place that looks like the stereotypical horror setting. We're rolling this long driveway to this big hotel that's shrouded by trees.
France has a pretty dark history too.
Yeah, it does. It's very dark. Very beautiful country, very rich history. I love it. It's beautiful.
So
I recommend it to anyone once this whole yellow vest movement clears up, because the French are pissed right now, and I'm not going to go into why because that's not the point. Anyway, so basically we're going down this long driveway, and then finally we happened upon, because we're going through all these thick trees and stuff, shrouding the sunlight above. So it's already kind of like, I didn't think anything of it. It was the middle of the day. We happen upon this hotel, this fairly decently sized hotel, shrouded by trees, covered in vines and overgrowth. It looked like the stereotypical hotel, but there were tons of cars in the driveway. There was a lot of people there.
Yeah.
It seemed totally fine, and we didn't think anything of it. We were like, "Oh, this place just looks looks like stereotypical horror setting," and then like that, instant terror and instant extreme nausea. It out of nowhere.
Oh, I've heard that actually. Yeah,
It was like, I've heard of people having entities jump through them, and I felt my skin, the temperature in my body dropped, and in an instant I was terrified. I don't know why, because I didn't see anything that could have prompted this. I was terrified. I was looking
it's even
around.
more scary.
I could feel the blood drain from my face, and I felt nauseous. I was like, oh, and And my the three others with me, my mom, my stepdad, and my mom's friend, we were all believers in God. And my mom's friend, who was sitting in the car behind me, we're in the back seat. She starts speaking in tongues.
Ugh.
And if you know anything about the Christian religion, the language of tongues, it's not just something you can just whip out whenever you like. There's no classes you can take to learn it. There's not. It's not even a written language. It doesn't have.
I can't believe this actually happened.
It doesn't have a written language. It's something that you only are able to speak in times of extreme spiritual distress or extreme enlightenment. And she starts speaking in tongues, and when someone does,
It's a big red
it's
flag.
and it sounds nothing like any other language you've ever heard. So it's not like, oh, are you sure she wasn't speaking like French or something? No. When you hear the language of tongues, you know it's unearthly. It's something different entirely. It's not Latin. It's not Arabic. It's not Hebrew. No. It's something completely different. And you could tell and she started speaking it, and that's when we all realized we are getting the fuck away from this hotel. There was something about that area. There was something there because we all felt it when we were driving. Driving away.
Was it all at once, everybody?
Oh, it was. Every single one of us at once felt that. We all looked at each other like, "Did you feel that?" I'm like, oh, "Did I feel it? Did you feel that?" And we were all explaining to each other. Like I said, like, yeah, I felt like really scared for no reason. And I felt like I was gonna throw up, and they were like, "Yeah, we felt that too." And it was instant. It was like we had entered something. It was like we had hit a barrier and gone past something. It was an immediate drop in temperature and instant.
Was it terror? Yeah.
Oh, I've never been so scared in my life, and I don't know why. Because everything looked fine. There was the sun out. I mean, it was shrouded by these thick trees, but the hotel objectively did not look bad. It just had a lot of vines on it. There were plenty of cars. Nothing looked particularly out of the ordinary, but it was this terrifying feeling like I was in imminent danger. There was something there that knew what we believed. It knew who we were somehow, and it really did not like us. It was
Yeah, I've heard that before.
probably the most terrifying experience I've ever had. I've never felt fear like that in my life.
And so did it? Because I remember you telling me this a long time ago. So like, did the fear subside when you left? You had as soon as you left.
I mean, it took us a few minutes
It
to
didn't
calm
follow
down.
you or anything.
Thank God it did not.
Because I have heard horror stories of that.
We also prayed profusely.
Oh God, I would too.
And the thing is, we do believe we were all believers in Jesus. We believe we were protected. We've never had issues with that entity since. I've never felt anything like that since. It was only when we were in that area. We drove away and the feeling was gone. Like,
It's amazing what
weird.
prayer can do actually. Because
mm-hmm.
like, you know me, I'm not super religious, but I definitely believe in God and Jesus, and I know they exist because they've helped me before. But
Yeah.
I've had when I had sleep paralysis, actually, the only thing that would really save me from it would be I would know what's happening, and I would just pray to God and Jesus. That was the only, and it would stop.
Yeah.
It would stop. Yeah, that was really the only way to stop it.
Yeah.
Unless you dealt with it, but
Yeah, I'm not really ashamed of telling people that I believe in and the thing is, a lot of people don't really believe me when I say I believe in Jesus because I say fuck a lot.
well, I don't think that has anything to do with it.
Well, I know because I know that we're actually not supposed to swear.
Probably not. No.
Because I know one of the verses is I'm paraphrasing it a whole bunch, but one of the verses in the Bible is basically do not allow any foul speech to come out of your mouth, basically.
Yeah.
And that's basically what they mean. Just don't
Try to keep it to a minimum.
Yeah. And sometimes, like, if you stub your toe and you're like, oh, fuck, like, that's different. But I've made a bad habit of it because I've been working in kitchens the last 6 years, and I went to trade school, so
there's really no escaping it.
I know it's a bad excuse, but I'm trying not to because the thing is, I also have one of my stepsisters has three little boys now. One is 4, the other is 2, the other was just born. So when they're around, for their sake, I really got to cut out the swearing.
Oh, fair enough.
But also just because, I don't know, I just think I should. I believe I've been told to.
Yeah, I really try not to swear, honestly. It just comes out, but every time I swear, I definitely feel bad about it.
Yeah, I mean, I always feel like there's a better word I could have used, but...
I remember actually...
fuck it.
Yeah. Yeah.
Well, I'm sorry.
No, it's funny because when I was a kid, when I used to to swear, as soon as I would swear in my head, I'd be like, I'm sorry. I'd always pray and say I'm
Oh.
sorry, but it would be, I had to stop because I would swear so much that I couldn't keep up with myself apologizing all the time. But
Right. Yeah.
it's
I gotta empty the sea monster too.
okay. I'll have to hold the fort. But yeah, no, I mean, swearing something that we all do. I think even the most religious people I know swear. My whole family is, well, my mom's side is all Mormon, which is the weirdest. They're like the most goody two shoes people I know. But yeah, even they will let some slip. I don't know. But I mean, Mormons, they can't even drink coffee, so. But yeah, I don't know. Swearing is. This is par for the course. Everybody does it, I find. I don't think I've met anybody that doesn't, even if they try not to. But it's probably not the best. Sometimes it's hard to take people seriously who swear too much. Like, it's just like, is that the only word you know? I don't think it makes you a bad person, but definitely probably affects your energy in some way. I don't know. I don't know what I'm talking about, but I try not to if I can. Because it's just, nobody wants to hear somebody saying the F word 3 times a sentence. It gets a little much.
Yeah, fair enough. What's interesting though, my dad.
He's a trucker, right?
Yeah, well, that's the thing. My dad is more godly than I am.
Interesting.
In certain ways. Well, that's the thing. I mean, I don't want to say that because we all sin. Everyone sins.
That's why we're here, I think.
The only sinless person that ever existed, we nailed to a cross.
Yeah, I think that's probably the biggest sin.
Yeah, right. Well, but it was meant to happen.
Yes, I believe so. Yeah.
Yeah. But anyway, it's in a lot of ways I feel like sometimes I because my dad, that's the thing. He's a trucker and he's definitely.
Has a mouth like a trucker.
Oh, well, when he's around me, he cuts it out. But he's definitely admitted, like, oh yeah, when I'm on shift, you can't always help it.
Well, it's like you said, working in a kitchen, being a trucker. There's certain industries and certain people you hang around with. It doesn't make you bad, but it's just the way people talk.
You pick up the habits. Sometimes you just can't help it.
Yeah, I started swearing at a very young age.
Me too. Like I was like grade 2 or something.
Yeah, me too. Yeah.
You did.
I remember the exact day I started swearing.
And it was a lot of I was just hanging out with a lot of people too that were doing it, and I don't know, I just started doing it too.
Yeah.
I just didn't really think it was that big of a deal, because I thought
As long as your parents didn't know.
Yeah. If my parents found out, I would have gotten a beating.
Yeah. Oh yeah, me too. I think I accidentally swore one time in front of my mom when I was very little.
Yeah.
And yeah, I got my mouth washed out with soap.
I just would have gotten spanked.
Yeah.
Real hard, and then sent to my room.
Yeah. Oh, I got spanked a lot as a kid.
Oh, same.
I was not a very good kid.
That was the only area I got hit though. It was on my rear end. I never got hit anywhere else.
Yeah.
That's the thing, because when you hit a kid anywhere else other than there, it looks like abuse, even if it's not. It's just the way.
This beer's going right through me.
Oh.
We were drinking beers. Sorry.
Yeah.
Yeah, but I definitely got smacked around a bit. I deserved it.
Well, I mean, here's the thing. Here's an unpopular opinion. It's important to discipline your children. Yes. Yeah, exactly. Especially nowadays. And a lot of people, they won't do it because of the way society has developed with this whole, oh, you can't hit children ever under any circumstances sort of way of looking at things.
I don't agree with that.
No, I don't agree with it either, because that's the thing. I got hit as a kid plenty. And not every single day, but every time I did something stupid, every time I mouthed off my parents, or I don't know, just did something stupid. I'm trying to think of other instances other than mouthing off my parents that would have resulted in getting spanked. But
Oh yeah.
I turned out I'm not a sociopath or anything. I don't think.
And one of the nicest people I know, to be honest. So
yeah, and you notice that it's always the most spoiled people, the most spoiled and entitled people, were usually people that never got hit as a kid.
Yeah.
They never were shown. They were never taught or shown their place.
I think back when we were kids, it was a lot more acceptable.
Mm-hmm.
You know?
I'm not even that old. I'm 22.
Yeah, but you we both grew up in the '90s. You know what I mean? Like that was just the way things were. I mean, until all this political correctness came into.
I was 3 years old by the time 1999 came around. So.
You were still born in the '90s.
Oh yeah. But it's true though. That was we definitely experienced the tail end, or at least I experienced the tail end of it, of the disciplinary, physical action.
Oh yeah, when I think back to some of the things I did as a kid, there's not one time where I got hit that I did not deserve it, and it wasn't like I got beat up or hurt.
No.
I was just shown like I was put in my place. You know, it's like you can't do that.
Yeah,
it's like a dog or a cat or something like.
Mm-hmm.
You have to. That's the only way they're gonna. You can't tell them they did something bad. You have to smack them. You know?
Well, I mean, that reminds me. One of my coworkers actually was talking about how when their daughter was first born. I'm not going to say who because this is going to sound like animal abuse, but I understand what's going on here. Their cat kept attacking their infant daughter.
Yeah, I've heard about that. Actually.
And his solution, he got sick of it at one point. I think it was like. Obviously wouldn't have happened very many times because it only takes your infant child being attacked once or twice for you to finally snap. He fucking punted the cat across the room. He straight up kicked the thing because it's attacking your fucking child.
Yeah.
You'll do anything to protect them. So he punted the cat across the room, basically washed it under the kitchen sink, or not in the kitchen sink, but
they hate water.
They hate water. So the cat was in pain from being kicked, and then was soaking wet, and then
that's hilarious.
And then he threw the cat in its cage for like 6 hours.
Yeah,
and it meowed like the whole time, but eventually stopped after like 4 hours. And the cat never touched that baby again.
See, they get it, right? That should be proof of concept.
Because the cat was still alive.
Oh yeah.
And people would hear this and be like, "Wow, he kicked a cat." The cat was attacking his fucking infant daughter. What would you have done?
And it sounds like he gave the cat a few chances.
He did. That's what it sounds like. Because he did say that, eventually...
Cats are really bad with that, actually, with infants sometimes.
I know I got scratched by a cat once or twice when I was a baby.
Oh, yeah.
But that's what he was telling me, that, after, like, a couple times I just lost it. I just punted that fucker across the room. I was like, I would too. You got to teach them their place.
Oh, actually, that's funny, because...
Like, you do not harm my offspring.
No, I don't blame that guy for not killing the goddamn thing.
You fucking pussy.
Yeah, literally. No, actually, it's funny because we had a cat growing up. It was basically my sister's cat, but I liked the cat too. But my mom really did not like. My mom never liked cats.
Oh.
But she put up with it. Sometimes she did, but she never really was a big fan.
Yeah.
And I remember one time, I can't remember what the cat did, but we were living in this townhouse at the time. So my parents had just split up, so she moved into a townhouse, and we had this cat, and I can't remember what the cat did, but I remember just being traumatized. I was like, "What are you doing?" She picked up the cat, and there was like a set of stairs outside the front door.
Oh no!
Picks it up and drop kicks it down the stairs. Like I saw it, and I was just like, "Oh my god!" So she drop kicks the cat.
Oh no!
And it lands like all the way down the stairs.
Oh.
Luckily lands on its feet because they usually do, and just scurries away. And I was like, "Oh my god, you just fucking killed it!" You know what I mean?
Yeah.
The cat was fine, but I've never she was just the cat must have done something really stupid, but she never liked cats. I could tell, and she just punted the damn thing down the stairs. And I was just like, "Wow, that was a pretty tough animal to survive that."
Oh yeah, well, they can. I mean, how many times in the wild do animals sustain major injuries and they just keep trucking on? Because what other choice do they have?
Yeah.
Yeah. I am definitely more of a dog person.
Oh, me too. I love dogs.
Mostly for me, it's mostly out of necessity because I am allergic to cat dander, which really sucks. Because I do like cats. They're really chill. They're like that stoner friend.
Depends on the cat.
Yeah.
Some cats are not nice.
Most cats I've met are pretty relaxed. Like I said, they're like that stoner friend. You don't have to really do anything for them. They kind of do their own thing, and they're just kind of there. A dog is like that really hyper
Oh,
younger.
dogs are just so affectionate, man.
They're so cute. That's why I like them more because they feel more human in that regard. Like they exhibit emotion in a much more obvious way than cats do. Like cats obviously do, but the dogs are like it's really obvious on their faces, and it's like, oh, are you a happy little puppy?
Oh, you
Yes,
can always
you
tell.
are.
Yeah, you can always tell when a dog's happy or sad.
Yeah, and they're really good for therapy because they can tell when you're upset.
Oh, they're huge for therapy, especially people with depression or what is it? Even autism. Actually, autism is a huge one.
Oh,
Yeah, like the kid won't talk for forever because he has autism. Something's wrong, right? And
yeah,
then the minute, maybe not the minute, but as soon as they get a dog or even a cat, I've heard too, but any type of animal, I guess, but dogs mostly,
yeah.
um, they start opening up and they'll start talking and they'll start, and they're like, we don't know why, but it's because of something.
Yeah, well, they can. I've heard that it's possible they can smell the chemical differences in your body, which would explain how they're able to. Because I've had dogs. I've met dogs out in public that I've never met before, and of course I love dogs, so I
Oh
see
yeah,
them and I'm like, oh,
you
and
can
then
tell.
the dog looks at me, and you can see that smile that they have. They look at me, they start smiling. I'm like, oh, how do you know? Like you haven't even come up to me yet, but I think that's
Good energy.
they can kind of like smell the chemical imbalance or the not the imbalance, but they can because that's the thing. The emotions we feel are just chemicals essentially. That I
Yeah.
do feel like there's a spiritual element involved for sure.
Well, I was
But
actually getting into that too once you're
Mhm.
done.
Well, I was gonna say just on a physical level, from an observable standpoint, emotions are definitely also tied to the chemicals in our body as well, and I think dogs can pick up on that. Because the other day I was riding past. Perfect example. I was riding my bike to work. I saw this person walking their Malamute. And I was like, oh, because I love Malamutes. They're like giant, extra fluffy huskies. And I was like,
Beautiful dogs.
you're so cute. And I couldn't help but smile. And as I was riding by, it looked at me and it smiled at me. And I was like, oh, you're so fucking cute. I just want to run my hands through your thick, fluffy fur.
Give him a big hug.
Yeah. I want to cuddle you. You're like
I
a
know.
big fluffy teddy bear, but you're a dog.
Oh,
And
I love.
I wasn't even near the dog, but it looked unmistakably. I was the only one riding by on the side, near the sidewalk. It looked right at me. It definitely smiled, and I swear I could see its tail start to wag. I was
Oh,
like,
of course.
"Oh, you know? How do you know?"
They're smarter than we give them credit for, I think sometimes.
Oh yeah,
And I've also heard, because I believe in a lot of crazy things, so
me too. Yeah,
yeah, I know that's why we can talk about stuff like this.
that's
but,
what this show's about.
it is. I love it. I've heard the dogs. Well, yeah, a lot of any pet really. Your ancestors, or your spirit guide, or whatever you want to call them, they can access them at almost any time.
Oh,
So when you're feeling down or whatever, like it's maybe not just the dog. It might be the soul of somebody briefly entering that dog as a vessel to comfort you in hard times.
that'd be kind of cool.
Somebody like maybe your great grandmother or somebody that's related to you or somebody that cares about you.
I haven't
Like an angel, maybe you could call it. I don't know.
Yeah, a lot of my family lineage is a mystery
It's a mystery.
because my father never knew his father.
Oh,
And
really?
I don't know anything about my dad's mom.
Oh.
About her family, I know nothing about her family. My mom on my mom's side, my grandfather and my grandmother on my mom's side, my grandmother on my mom's side was adopted actually.
Oh.
So I don't know anything about her biological family, so that trail's gone cold. I don't. I
Yeah,
know.
it's tough to know.
I know a tiny bit about my grandfather's family on my mom's side, and the story does not end in a happy way.
Oh, really?
Yeah. Well, he saw his mom murdered in front of him when he was like 7.
Oh my god.
Yeah, it was fucked up, and he's had really severe anger issues and psychological trauma since. But it's weird. All him and his 2 siblings both witnessed it, but he's the only one that came out of it with extreme emotional issues. The others eventually, like after years, they eventually kind of got normal again, but he never did.
Do you mind me asking what happened?
I'm trying to think. I think it was like a really pissed off ex-boyfriend,
Oh my god.
and if it's any consolation, he was hung. It was back in those days. They still had hanging.
Oh, so he was caught and hung for it.
Oh yeah. They found him. So they
Oh, I'm sorry to hear that. Oh,
yeah.
God.
Yeah, he paid.
Not him getting hung. I mean that getting.
No, he paid the price for that for sure.
Good.
It was back in those days. But yeah, I can't remember where his parents are from. So I don't really know a whole lot about like who I hail
It cuts
from.
off at a certain point.
Yeah, like a lot of, well, not a lot, but some people are like, oh yeah, my grandfather's this, my great great grandfather, or my great grandfather, and my great 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 grandfather, this and that. And I'm just like, I don't know anyone past. I knew one great grandparent. That was it.
And we're still not sure if you're the reincarnation of Hitler yet.
Yeah, exactly. Yeah.
That's a whole other story.
It's funny. But the thing is, my mom did do a DNA test about a month or two ago, and we did find out that I am mostly English, but there's also a lot of Irish and Scottish in there for sure. Oh my god,
That's probably where we get along.
I'm starting to do the Irish accent again.
Yeah,
That's what I'm talking. Every single time I start to talk about the Irish accent, oh my fuck, it's happening again. Oh. It's this weird thing when I start to talk about.
It happens to me too.
Well, it's weird because with Colton, the thing he starts to do is, wow, I actually can't stop now. I'm doing a weird bastardization of the Irish/Canadian accent. It's not even Newfie, it's just a weird thing. Colton's thing is that when he starts to, okay, it's going away now. That's so weird.
Dude, it happens to me too.
This happens to Colton when he talks about the Australian accent. Then he starts to pop the Australian. He's not even Australian. He's German and Russian.
Might have some sort of, but Australians aren't even Australian. They're English.
Yeah, I mean, from a long time ago.
Yeah, yeah.
But every time I talk about, well, I'm not going to say the area because I'm going to start doing it.
What, Irish?
Fuck. You're going to start.
It's funny that you brought that up because I have that happen to me too.
Really?
Like, yeah. Like it'll just pop out, and I know it's Irish too.
It's so weird. But the thing is, I don't know. I like to say, oh, I'm tapping into my Irish heritage, but I know the thing is, I don't know a lot about my extended like old family, but I know that from what my mom described, like my great great grandparents were Canadian, so I'm as far as nationality and ethnicity goes.
Canada's a very young country though. Still, too.
Yeah. Well, we were officially founded in 1867. I think
that wasn't that long ago on paper.
Yeah, but either way, I like to think, oh, I'm tapping into my English, Irish, and Scottish heritage or something like that. But I don't know.
I totally believe that because, dude, it's happened to me only when I was older, or maybe I didn't notice it, but like a couple of years. For a couple of years now, it'll pop out, and usually nobody's around. I'll just like say something out loud, and it's just totally sounds like an Irish accent. I am very Irish. I'm basically almost 100% Irish. Because,
oh, that's cool.
But well, not technically. I was born in Canada, but I mean, basically I am Irish. I have other things, but my last name is Murphy, and it's about as Irish as it gets. So.
I know that
I'm proud of it.
My last name is Grant, and that is, I think that's actually, I know there's a clan. It's the
Celtic.
It's the Grant family clan, and it's
sounds Celtic.
I think it's actually Scottish, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, Scottish and Irish, and even I think English. I think they're all Celtic.
Yeah, they're all classified as Celtic. Yeah. I'm pretty sure.
Which is super cool, actually. The Celtic heritage. I never knew I was Celtic.
Yeah.
I didn't realize that that's what that meant, but they are super cool people. They
don't always get along, but
oh no, they don't.
But they at least tolerate each other. And
even the Irish don't like each other.
But anyone out there listening to us, if we have gotten that wrong, let us know, because we're not entirely sure.
I have no idea. I actually know really nothing about my heritage.
The only thing I know is that genetically I'm like 51% English. I don't know how they got that percentage, but I am. And then
they can test for that.
Yeah. Oh yeah, and then the other like 40, it'd be about 38% Irish and Scottish, and then it was like 9% Scandinavian. I think it was.
Oh yeah, I do have some Scandinavian too.
I think it was Norway, actually, if I'm not mistaken. I don't remember if they told me exactly what it was, but I thought that was cool because for the longest time I thought first of all, I didn't know I had any actual English in me because no, there is a difference between the English, the Scottish, and the Irish. There's a big difference.
There is a difference.
Massive difference.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't see it on the surface, but there are large
There is a huge
differences.
difference. I'm
And-
definitely part English too somewhere. I guarantee it.
I didn't know I was English though. I thought it was mostly.
I think most people are.
Well, yeah, because we're an English colony in Canada.
Yeah.
But the thing is, I thought it was mostly Irish and Scottish, but it turns out I'm actually mostly just English. I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I had no idea, and don't even get me started on the Scandinavian part. That's so cool. I didn't know I had any of that.
Yeah, that's a neat one too, actually.
But it's interesting. I'm mostly, genetically speaking, I'm mostly English, but
Yeah.
I look more like someone who would be from Ireland.
You definitely look you're Irish/Scottish. You definitely.
Yeah, which is weird. Like
Yeah.
I could fit into most white countries, I would say,
Yeah.
to a degree. No, sorry, most Western European white countries. Because if I go to like Hungary or Estonia or Ukraine, I'm not Slavic, so I'm gonna stand out. Colton, on the other hand, he's definitely got a Slavic look to him. You can tell.
Yeah, I now that you mentioned that, I guess he does. Yeah.
Yeah, he does. Yeah, when you look at him.
Yeah, no, it makes sense. Yeah.
Yeah, and that's the thing. I'm a Western European mutt.
Yeah, I mean, same thing here. It's like, yeah, I might be Irish, this, that, but I'm definitely a mutt too. I mean, most of us are.
I just know I'm basically fully Caucasian. I'm an Asian that I'm an Asian that
From
comes
the Caucasus region.
Yeah, the Caucasus. Yeah, yeah, basically.
No, I mean, my herd. I don't know. Like, it's always fun to talk about heritage. I don't know.
Yeah. Well,
But-
some people are like, "Oh, why do white people always ask that question?" I don't know. We just do.
It's
Okay.
interesting because
It's
we're
interesting.
we're also, I mean, yeah, we're all Canadian. We all live here now, but it's interesting to know where we came from. It's
Yeah,
like,
it's just a curiosity
it's like,
thing.
well, you're not that. You live in Canada. It's like, yeah, I know that. I know. I'm Canadian. I know that.
Yeah.
I'm proud to be Canadian. I'm proud to live where I am. But this is not my original DNA. I mean, Canada's
Yeah.
only so old.
Yeah. Well, you're not actually Canadian. I know that, idiot. That's not what we're talking about.
No. Even and actually, I think it's funny. As a child, like my dad's mom. So my dad's like he's the Murphy, right? So he's super Irish, right? He's basically 100%.
Oh.
And but then my dad's mom
Yeah.
is not Irish at all. She is German and Italian.
Oh.
So I was like, when I found out I was part German, not much, but I was just like, I was so disappointed at the time.
Oh.
I was like, what? Like, she's like, oh yeah. She showed me a picture of I think it was my great grandfather.
Oh wow.
And he was born in Germany. He was a German guy, and he was an ugly motherfucker. And I was I'll never forget how crushed I was. I was
Really?
just like, yeah, I was, because at the time I had just gotten into playing Medal of Honor for the first PlayStation, and I was taught that Nazis in Germany was like bad.
Yeah.
I never had any. It's weird. I actually respect Germans a lot now, but to
Yeah.
find out that I was German was just it was
Like,
heartbreaking.
at that time.
Because at that time, not anymore, but
Yeah, because you understand that Germans hate Hitler more than anyone
oh,
else.
of course, and they're
Yeah.
super talented, awesome people.
Well,
they're
German
all-
engineering is like some of the best stuff you could ever buy.
Yeah.
It is extremely top notch.
Oh, Germans are definitely special people for sure. And I'm not
Yeah.
I'm not saying I'm German, but I have a bit, and because my grandma that's all she was German and Italian. She actually
Yeah.
spoke Italian until she was 10 years old, and then her mom died.
Oh, it's weird though because I can see.
Definitely see the Italian, right?
I was gonna say you look like a combination of Irish and
Yeah.
Italian to me.
I've been called a Mick a few times, yeah. The Italian comes in with the big nose and the hairy. I'm hairy as hell.
I know the thing is, it's weird how
I don't see any German in me.
I forgot to mention that the DNA test my mom did. It was only on her side of the family because on my
Oh.
dad's side of the family there is a bit of Irish, but there's also Italian and there's a bit of.
I can see Italian in you too, for sure.
Oh yeah, I've had a few people tell me that.
But I can definitely see the Irish a lot too.
Yeah, and people there. I have little bits of red in my beard.
Yeah, me
or
too.
My facial hair, and people.
I actually have a lot of red in my hair and beard.
Oh,
I could actually notice. It's funny you mentioned that too, because I was about to tell you when the light was shining. I was like, "Oh, you have red hair."
oh yeah. I thought I had brown hair my whole life. Maybe I'm colorblind.
Yeah, no.
But anyway, I do. I have a bit of a Aboriginal in me, though. There's a bit.
Oh,
of,
no way, really?
There's a little bit of Native. I don't know what band it would be.
But not enough to qualify for any status.
No, it'd be like
Too bad. I would totally.
Maybe like maybe between 2 and 5% at the most. Because you look at me, I'm the whitest motherfucker you've ever seen.
Dude, you know what though? I've seen so many white people that have Native status. They're like whiter weird. Than you are, and I'm like, that's not fair.
The only reason I know is because my dad's mom, my grandmother on my dad's side, is weird. She's pale like me, but oh, she's Native, all right.
Really?
You look at her facial features. There's no way any European would be naturally born that way. She's definitely got a lot of Native in her.
Really?
But I have to ask her about it.
Yeah, I would love to ask about that if I were you.
I'm really, really curious. I want to see how oppressed I am.
Oppressed?
Yeah, I found out I'm 18% oppressed today. It was a joke in South Park. People finding out that they were anything other than white, they would say, yeah. "Oh yeah, I'm like I have found out that I'm 30% oppressed." Like,
yeah,
so dumb.
Some people get like, yeah. Well, that's like me with when I found out I was, I had German in my family. It's so little.
Yeah,
it's so because my dad would probably because he would probably be an eighth. German, I think, something like that. So I would be like, it wouldn't even qualify.
Well, yeah.
I just remember being so bummed out on it at the time because I was just taught that they were just these horrible people.
Yeah.
And my grandma, for some reason, she never told me. And we were just looking through a family album. She's like, "Oh, there's your great great grandpa." I'm like, "Oh, but you were adopted, so that can't be." I was like, "Oh no, that's your real that was my real blood."
Oh.
I was like, "Oh yeah." She's like, "Yeah, he's from Germany." I was like, "Oh no." I was so upset. I'll never forget that. I was just so pissed off.
It's funny. I'm not
German.
I never even heard about the Nazis until like grade, I don't know, 4 or 5, and even then I just heard about them in passing. Because one of my best buddies growing up, we didn't really talk anymore.
A lot of people are German.
We don't really talk anymore. Like we didn't fight. I don't know. We just stopped.
Drifted apart.
Yeah, just naturally. His parents were actually born and raised in Germany.
Yeah,
and it's always interesting because
they're amazing people.
Oh yeah, they're very.
Now that I'm not so ignorant,
they're extremely hard workers.
Yeah, they're super smart. I didn't get any of that gene.
If I remember correctly, his mom was actually Bavarian, which is a region in Germany.
Germanic.
Yeah, I think it's between the border of Germany and. God, one of the other countries, I don't remember.
Yeah.
I don't know. It's considered kind of its own area, but I think it's still technically part of Germany. But
yeah. Probably.
I know.
Kind of like Austria, kind of deal.
From what I remember, Hitler was actually really fond of Bavaria, if I'm not mistaken.
Well, Hitler was from Austria too.
Yeah, he was.
Yeah.
A lot of people don't realize that. A lot of people are like, "Oh, Germany gave us Hitler." No, Austria gave you Hitler.
Yeah, they're not Germany. Yeah, it's funny that they.
And Austria's sitting there in the background like, they think it wasn't us. Okay, good. And my stepdad, it's interesting because my stepdad's Austrian too. So
my stepmom was Austrian too, actually. Not from there, but that's her heritage. But your stepdad's straight up from there, right?
Yeah. Oh, he was born and raised there.
Oh, wow.
Yeah. It's interesting though, how just thinking about it now, how many dictators of the 20th century were not from the country that they were ruling over.
Oh, really?
Adolf Hitler was, he was the Führer of Nazi Germany, but he was Austrian. Joseph Stalin was not Russian.
He wasn't?
No, he was Georgian.
Oh, I didn't know that.
Yeah, a lot of people don't. In fact, one of the things he actually would very rarely speak in public because of that, because he had a very thick Georgian accent.
Oh.
And for any of those out there, they're thinking, what do you mean, like Georgia, the United States? No, there's a...
Oh, I know what Georgia is, yeah.
No, I mean for anyone.
Oh, yeah, sure.
There's a country out in Eastern Europe that is actually called Georgia. It's a very small country. That's where Joseph Stalin grew up. And their accent is very distinct compared to Russian. So because of that, he would very, very rarely speak in public.
No idea.
Because people would pick up on that and be like, we thought he was Russian. Oh, no. But they wouldn't say anything because he was Comrade Stalin, and you better not say anything about him.
Oh, kill you.
Oh, yeah.
Didn't he kill something like...
He wouldn't kill you. You would just never have existed. You would disappear.
He would erase people from pictures with him.
That's sinister shit.
That's just creepy.
It was weird. Joseph Stalin was actually a very short... uninspiring, weird little man.
Oh,
He was
really?
he was like 5'6".
Oh, what?
He was not that tall. That's the thing. All the propaganda and all the posters made him look enormous, and that
Oh,
was
of
the whole thing.
course. It's kind of like North Korea.
Cult of personality made him larger than life. Because the thing is, he actually walked with a limp, and his left arm was actually shorter than his right. It was due to some sort of
Really?
it had actually atrophied. Basically, it was due to some sort of condition he'd had since he was a kid. In fact, he had I think it was smallpox or something once when he was a kid, which left his face permanently scarred, and you never see that in any of the paintings of him because, well,
Oh, right.
they would never have dared put any of those imperfections into the paintings. They always painted him as having perfect clear skin, but when you see videos of him, oh, he's got a scarred up face for sure. It's not super obvious, but when they do close ups, you can tell he's definitely had a few infections in his life because
Right. Yeah.
he grew up. He was born in like 1880 something. Like he was born
Oh, wow.
a long time ago. Like he was an old guy by the time he got into power with the USSR.
Right.
Yeah, but it's interesting.
How did he die?
I think it was basically cardiac arrest in one of his houses.
So he wasn't like killed or anything.
No, unfortunately, he just kind
He lived his whole life.
of. The thing is, though, he was an extremely paranoid man as the leader of the USSR. In fact,
Could tell.
because the thing is, the idea was that I'm gonna explain a bit of history here. Vladimir Lenin was one of the pioneers of the Union of Soviet Socialist Republics, aka the USSR, aka the Soviet Union. He and his two main associates were Leon Trotsky and I almost said Adolf Stalin.
You wouldn't be far off.
I'm a little bit tired, if you couldn't tell. Joseph Stalin and Leon Trotsky was a great public speaker, and he was very militaristic. He was great at rousing crowds, and he was actually the leader of the Red Army because he was so good at inspiring people. And Joseph Stalin resented him because he was a better public speaker than him. And Vladimir Lenin, who was basically their boss, he was going to appoint Trotsky to be the leader of the USSR. And
I didn't know that.
I remember basically he was going to he sent a letter saying that he didn't trust Stalin because he was too.
But Stalin didn't trust anybody either.
No, and that's the thing. He didn't trust Stalin because he was too unpredictable and just kind of
I'd be
not very stable. So he said, no, don't let Stalin become the leader. It should be Trotsky. Unfortunately, Stalin intercepted this letter, hid it, and had Trotsky. He basically started to basically what he did, he would start framing Trotsky for things, but framing it in a way that made it seem like he wasn't doing it himself. He would basically come up with things and say like, oh, we found out that Comrade Trotsky did this and this and that to make it seem like, to basically frame him without it seeming like he was doing the framing. He would make it seem like, oh, we discovered that he was doing these bad things. So he got Trotsky kicked out of the Soviet Union as it was being formed, and Trotsky lived the rest of his life in I think it was Argentina, and then eventually when Stalin
he escaped Russia.
Well, they exiled him.
Oh, okay.
They forced him
Because
out.
they didn't lock him up or something.
And then I think it was a couple decades later, Stalin sent KGB agents, basically, and they assassinated him. He was in South America.
What a time to live.
Yeah, but the thing is, Trotsky would have been the Hitler of the USSR.
Oh, really?
Because Trotsky was a fanatic, and so was Stalin, but they were fanatics in different ways. Leon Trotsky was the guy that wanted to expand and create a global communist empire.
In a way, Russia kind of saved the world, to be honest.
Yeah, but Stalin was the guy that said, no, we should stick with what we currently have. We've got a huge amount of land already. Let's just work with what we have because everybody hates us anyway, so why even bother trying to expand?
Especially the Germans.
Yeah, and so Stalin's idea was called socialism in one country, which basically said, we're just not going to move anywhere. We're not going to expand. We're going to work with what we have. And they did. They industrialized the shit out of it. And that's basically how that happened. Joseph Stalin was never supposed to be the leader, ever.
Really? I didn't know that.
Through corruption and scheming, he kicked out...
He was a greasy guy.
Oh, he was.
He saved the world, though. It's weird.
He was also extremely paranoid, like I mentioned before, because near the end of his life, it got to the point where I can't remember who told me, but they were saying that they read somewhere... he had basically 4 places he would stay at, 4 big mansion-type places.
Yeah.
He would switch every single day.
Keep everybody else poor.
Well, also to make sure that in case he was being tracked by any assassins, they would never know where to look.
You probably had imposters too.
Oh yeah,
Yeah.
they always did.
Yeah.
And then basically from what I understand, he basically died of a heart attack in his sleep.
So I want to go.
1953, I think it was, which is when the power vacuum happened, and then Nikita Khrushchev eventually took over. But basically,
You know your stuff.
oh, I'm like I said, I'm very fascinated with 20th century history.
It's very interesting.
Yeah, because it happened like over half a century ago. Like some of the stuff I'm talking about, like Stalin died in 1953. We're in 2019 right now.
Yeah.
So that was a while ago for us, but in terms of the grand scheme of things, that was not long ago.
It wasn't, no.
And it still affects us to this day because it involved Khrushchev getting in, and then which would have resulted. It's the butterfly effect. It would have resulted in him doing all the things he did, which would have eventually he was. I think he was kicked out or maybe outvoted or something, and then the other guy got in, and so on and so forth. And if Stalin hadn't died, none of that would have happened. And eventually, it all would have led up to Gorbachev, who was the final leader of the Soviet Union. The reason he was the final leader is because he was the guy that said, this intense authoritarian stuff is no good. We need to give people more freedom. And unfortunately, because everyone was silenced in the Soviet Union, basically, because if you spoke out against the government, you would disappear, basically.
Yeah, that's what I've heard.
And Gorbachev said, "No, that's fucking stupid. We should never have been a dictatorship. That's not true communism." And so he basically ripped all the tape off of all the collective people's mouths, and then suddenly they said, "Okay, this fucking shit sucks. Get rid of it." And he's like, "Wait, guys, hold on. Sorry, I thought we just gave you freedom. Oh God. Oh, they're destroying monuments. Oh no. Oh God. Oh, there goes the Soviet Union."
That's how it collapsed.
That's basically, because the thing is, they
for worse.
They were allowed more freedom, which allowed nationalism to rise. And nationalism, a lot of people will hear that and think, "Oh, does that mean Nazism?"
Sorry.
I'll keep it going. A lot of people hear the word nationalism and they think Nazis, because Nazis were the National Socialist German Workers' Party, but that's not the case. Nationalism, in and of itself, is defined as intense patriotic feelings. Basically, to be a nationalist is essentially, by definition, it means you love your country and you're looking out for the citizens' best interests. And oftentimes that manifests itself in the form of extreme patriotism. You really love your country. You really love its symbolism and its history and its culture. You love everything about it, for better, for worse. That's the thing. I don't see anything wrong with nationalism. It's basically just patriotism with more heart. That's the way I see it. And nationalism rose in a lot of the countries that formed up the Soviet Union, and that's when the collapse started, because they were like, "Oh, we don't want to be part of this giant country anymore. We want to be just Estonia, or just Ukraine, or we want to be just Turkey." Well, I think Turkey was in the Soviet Union.
Okay.
I don't know. And that's basically how it happened. They said, "No, we want to be our own country. We declare independence." And then the next country would be like, "Yeah, we declare independence too." And then the next country would be like, "Hey, those guys declared independence. We want to be just our country. And that's all we are. We declare independence." And Gorbachev was sitting there like, "Oh, God.
Right.
I didn't mean for the whole country to collapse. I just wanted to give people more freedom. Damn it."
What year was that, do you know?
That would have been around, I've heard some people say 93, but most sources...
Oh, really?
No, most sources say the Soviet Union collapsed around 91. I think the full collapse took a couple of years, because not every single country declared independence at once. It just kind of happened over a period of time. It's interesting, though, because I do work with I don't know if I mentioned this on any of the other episodes, but I do work with a guy who grew up in Ukraine, and he was around our age when the Soviet Union collapsed. And it was interesting because from what he described, if I'm getting it right, if he listens to this and I get it wrong, I'm very sorry. I have a bad memory with these sort of things, but from what I remember him telling me, basically the Ukraine itself, specifically in his instance, from what he saw, it split up into a bunch of portions, like a bunch of little province type areas. It was still Ukraine, but if you were from one area of the country and you tried to, I don't know, just kind of go to another area of the country, they'd be like, "Oh, you're from that area." They basically beat the shit out of you
Right.
because communism fell. There was basically no solid government for a while, so everybody was kind of take what you can get. What are you gonna do? So it was a little bit feral for a little while. It was interesting though.
Be an interesting time to live.
It was really interesting talking to him about the Soviet Union before it collapsed. Just because I've never known it, and because I actually work with him, and I've never actually worked or been that close with anyone from that area of the world from that time. So it's kind of interesting hearing about what he says about it, because he does recognize there were a lot of good and bad things about it. Because there were plenty of good things, like for example, homelessness and unemployment was not a thing. People didn't even know what that was in the Soviet Union, because you were given a job by the government, because that's what socialism and communism is supposed to do. And so if you were unemployed, that would imply that you had chosen to not go to the job that the government had given you, which was against the law. So that's why it was actually against the law to be unemployed in that country, because
There's basically no freedom in a way.
well, because that's the thing. To be unemployed in the USSR would have been a deliberate choice and basically defiance to the government. That's basically what it would have been. But everyone got a job, everyone got a house. Now, whether those jobs and houses were good quality didn't matter. You just got one.
Yeah.
And what's interesting though, I have to say I do like the way their schooling system worked.
Oh yeah, there was definitely, it wasn't all bad, I'm sure.
Oh no. The thing is, I'm going to preface this by saying he has told me that he ultimately is a lot more thankful to be living under capitalism. This is a guy that grew up under Soviet communism. Right. And he says as much as he enjoyed the good parts about it, he does really appreciate the freedom we have here. And that really rings true with me, I think.
Oh, I believe that too.
But one of the interesting things he said, though, is that the schooling system, the way he described it, basically, if you wanted to get into post-secondary, throughout just regular grade school, you had to keep an average, or you had to at least graduate with a certain average. If you had like C minuses, for example, you'd be banned from post-secondary for life. They just wouldn't let you in.
Oh, really?
Because in our country, it doesn't matter how intelligent or how stupid you are. If you have the money, you get in.
Yeah.
In the Soviet Union, you had to prove you were smart enough to be worth their time.
They're very smart people, too.
And that's why the Soviet schools are so good, because only the smartest could get in, which meant only the smartest could get out. That's why their doctors and scientists were so freaking good at what they did.
They're amazing, yeah.
But the thing is, what he was telling me, the one thing he didn't like, though, is that, for example, if you go in to be like a welder, you'd go in and let's say you get your C ticket. That's the basic level 1 for welders. Okay. You would get out. The government would look at you and say, "Hey, Ukrainian welder, you just got your C ticket. Oh, hey, we need a welder in Siberia. You leave Monday."
Yeah.
You can't say no. You're not allowed to.
and that's where things get a little out of control.
And that's what he didn't like. He was like, I always like to do the accent whenever I describe what he says. It's just fun. But he's always like, yes, it's always the one thing I did not like about it. You could not choose where you were able to work. The government told you where you had to go. And that was always the part I did not like. And I was like,
good accent.
I'm like, yeah, fair enough. Apparently, actually, the first time I tried doing a Russian accent, when he heard me do that, he was like, "You realize you're actually doing a lot more like a Ukrainian accent."
Oh yeah.
And I'm like, "What?" And he's from Ukraine, so he would know.
That's kind of that's a compliment.
Yeah,
I dig that.
And then he was like, and then I can't do it, but he was like, "No, the Russian accent actually sounds much more like this," and he starts to impersonate it, and I could hear a difference.
Oh yeah.
But all my life I've been doing the Ukrainian accent thinking it was the Russian, so I don't know how to do Russian now.
Yeah. I guess they're similar.
Yeah, they're similar, but they are different.
Oh, of course.
But I thought that was kind of interesting how he picked up on that, like, immediately, as I would expect.
Like a Scottish and an Irish accent are different. Similar, but different.
It's funny, same thing with my stepdad. Every time I try to do the German accent, my stepdad, he'll hear me and he'll go, "No, that's so much more like the Austrian accent." This doesn't really sound a whole lot like the German accent. It's much more like the Austrian. I had no idea. And so apparently, for years I thought, I can do a decent German and Russian accent. No, I can't. But I can do a pretty good Austrian and Ukrainian accent. But anyway, back to what I was saying, though. The schooling was interesting in the Soviet Union. But also one of the things he noticed that their hospitals were really good, but they were really uncomfortable. Like the beds were like a lot of metal in them, and they weren't very comfortable. It was really cold.
Oh, I can imagine. Probably wasn't first world.
Yeah, we're really cold, uncomfortable hospitals, but they were always clean. Their doctors were really fucking smart.
Super smart people.
But one of the main problems that he was telling me is that he said, yeah, like the doctors are really good because the way the schooling system was, but the problem is they didn't always have the proper tools because they were always underfunded because a lot of people were really poor.
Oh yeah.
And the way I always like to tell people, the way I always like to describe it is, imagine a surgeon in like North America might have like, I don't know, 7 or 8 different scalpels, different sizes and shapes for whatever it is they're doing.
Mm-hmm.
A surgeon in the Soviet Union might have maybe 2, maybe.
Oh really? That doesn't surprise me though.
Because that's the thing, they didn't have the correct funding, so they were extremely smart, but they didn't always have the right tools.
Yeah.
So, and that's the thing, thankfully
I
they
think
were
that fluctuated with almost everything, not just that field too. I think it was like almost everything they were low on funding for, right?
Mm-hmm. I remember reading about even things like supermarkets. It was kind of weird. The Soviet Union were they would go through shortages and massive excess amounts of food at the same time. Like for example, you'd go to the supermarket, and for a couple weeks they might not have any eggs, like at all. And then suddenly they would get this massive influx of eggs, and suddenly it's like they had too many eggs.
Yeah,
that would happen with everything. Like
they would have too much or too little.
Yeah,
there was no in between.
It was really weird. Like some weeks they might have like no bread. It's like, ah, shit, there's no bread, and then fucking bread avalanche the next like 2 weeks. Like it was really weird the way things. And it might have to do with the way goods were transported. I'm not entirely sure, but that was common. Like they would have shortages, but it's no big deal because you just make do until you get the massive surplus that you were waiting for.
And you hit or miss.
Yeah, basically. Then you get all your bread and you get all your eggs and stuff. So it's kind of interesting. But that's the thing. He was the guy I'm talking about. He worked he grew up in Soviet Ukraine, but I also worked with a lady that grew up in communist Yugoslavia.
Oh God. And
actually, they were pretty good though, from what she described.
Oh.
As far as communist countries go, they were pretty okay. Like they weren't super heavily suppressed or oppressed, from what she described. But from the two people, because that's the thing, I worked with 2 people that grew up in communist countries, and the one thing they both noted is that people were really, really poor.
Yeah.
Just around, everyone had a house. There was no such thing as unemployment or homelessness, but everybody was really poor.
Yeah, maybe just the style of living.
Yeah, it was interesting, but Yugoslavia, unfortunately, is not around anymore because it's split up into like
the Czech Republic now?
Well, Czechoslovakia, Slovakia, Moldova, I think. There'll always be one
Serbia?
big country. Yeah, Serbia.
Yeah, Bosnia and Serbia.
In fact, I think that's where I think she was from Serbia, the area that is known as Serbia now.
Right.
But their leader back then, who was when it was still Yugoslavia, his last name was Tito, and he was apparently, as far as communist leaders go, he was really good. Like he actually really did care about his citizens. So you could argue that he was actually trying to implement proper communism, which in theory, that's the thing, communism in theory would create a utopia. But the problem is, when you look at the basic principles of it, it's actually quite flawed.
Yeah.
So as much as I would like it to theoretically be able to function, it can't.
It's impossible.
It can't function in this world. The way its core values do not work with humanity.
Yeah.
But it's interesting as far as communist leaders go. Tito was actually quite good. I don't remember how he died, if he had some sort of medical issue, but basically from what the lady who I work with, from what she described, she said the day Tito died was the day my country died.
Really?
Because after he died, that's when all hell broke loose. Because that was in the 90s when all the racial tensions, basically, it was a giant powder keg, and all this genocide started happening in the area. People were slaughtering each other.
Jeez.
This is all like
that surprised me.
It was all in the 90s. I don't remember if it was early 90s or mid 90s, but it happened. And then that's when Yugoslavia basically got destroyed and divided itself into all the countries that it is now. which is really saddening that it had to happen that way. But
Unfortunately, part of humanity.
yeah, so it's interesting. I don't agree with communism, but from
No.
the sounds of it, if I was forced to live in a communist country, it would probably be Yugoslavia. Because from what my sensei was describing, it was actually really not that bad. I mean, everybody was poor, obviously, but it was actually quite livable.
It was what it was.
Yeah. I would prefer. The thing is, objectively, I think I would prefer it over the Soviet Union.
Yeah. Oh yeah. No.
But I do think if anything, I would live under Gorbachev preferably, since he was actually he was definitely probably one of the better leaders of the Union, not because he led well, but because he wanted to give people freedom.
Yeah, he meant well.
Yeah, because that's the thing. He was the final leader because, well, the Union collapsed.
Yeah.
Yeah. Yeah, it's interesting. And I know a lot of people listening, I may, to anyone out there listening, I may have gotten some things wrong. Because I'm very tired. And
Yeah.
I read a lot, and it's easy for me to mix up facts and stuff, so it's possible that I could have gotten a few things wrong there. So I apologize in case I did. But,
we're just here to talk, and
Yeah.
if we're wrong, we're wrong. But we're having a good conversation. So
Oh, yeah.
no, I hear you. I'm tired too.
What time is it? Let me check.
maybe time to shut
Good
her
God,
down.
it's 1:45 in the morning. I didn't know that. I thought it was like, I don't know, 12:45? No, it's an hour later than I thought it was.
Oh, well, we got some good content.
Yeah, we did. Well, I guess that would be a good time to, I almost said cut it to a close. It didn't make any sense.
Makes sense to me.
Yeah. Well, thank you all for listening wherever you may be, whenever you may be.
Yeah, thank you so much, whoever's listening. We appreciate it.
Yeah. And, yeah, we hope you have a wonderful morning, afternoon, evening, early morning, maybe, like we are. It was actually it's pretty chill.
Technically.
Well, this is it.
Good night.
Gute Nachten.
Oh, that's fun.
Oh, hold on. Let me unlock the phone first.
Oh, we're still on. We're still on.
Oh, boy.